We good.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That was a good movie.
World.
All right, here we go.
You're listening to the Cast&Blast podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cast&Blast podcast. I'm your host, Pinche. I got Jimmy here next to me, and we have our guest, Chris Payne, and we promised you guys a part 2 episode, and we'll call this a bonus episode where we're going to ask Chris a couple of questions. One, we said we were going to cover your "But Did You Die" story, and we just want to go ahead and dive right into. We'll call this the bonus episode, right? And we're just going to use this as your chance to share your story of any situation where you almost died or you were in a sticky situation that we can all learn from out there on the water. So what do you got for us, man?
So we talked about that Pelican Endeavor, right? That 9-foot sit-in.
Had something to do with it.
Yeah. So I learned very quickly. So here's the lesson. I'll give you the lesson before I give you the story.
Okay.
Always check the weather before you go anywhere.
And what are your limitations?
So
what as a kayak angler?
Yeah,
that's real important.
Yeah, you got to know what windage you can handle.
Yep.
What you can handle as far as, like, if you're in a sit-in and you're going to get rain, that's a bad choice. You need to have sponges or a bilge pump or something.
Right.
I didn't know any of that.
Okay.
You got an empty water bottle?
It was, yeah, I know, right? Cut the top off of it, use it as a scoop. It was not too long after we moved down here, so probably 2006-ish.
Okay.
I found a buddy who liked to kayak fish. He was a neighbor.
Okay.
He lived like 4 houses down from us. And he said, "You have a kayak? I have a kayak.
Yeah.
We should go kayak." And I was like, "Well, I only kayak when I'm fishing." He's like, "Me too." I was like, Perfect. Wow, did we just become best friends?
Right.
And so we go out and we're fishing Belton. We're north of Rogers Park.
Okay.
Yep.
Basically, so we left out and we're fishing up that direction and fishing the big bluff walls and stuff like that.
So you kind of got some pretty big water up at that point then.
Yeah, and
especially for a kayak.
Yeah, and I didn't have a depth finder in my kayak, so I had no idea I was in 40-foot water.
Yeah.
And we were kind of chasing hybrids and whites and stuff like that and paddling. Well, before I know it, we had paddled like way up north to like past the Long Bridge. Like,
man,
we paddled
you were down
a long way. And we were like hammered down. We had been there a while. It took quite a while to paddle that distance, but we're chasing hybrids and we're having a good time and everything. And then north of the Long Bridge, there was this bluff wall, and it's up kind of across from Winkler's and around, and it wasn't a huge bluff wall, but I don't know, probably 40 feet, or something like that, and it blocked the sky.
The skyline.
And so I'm fishing, I'm not really paying attention, and my buddy was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go fish this other fork. I'm gonna let you have this fork, and then I'll catch up with you." I was like, "Cool. No problem, man. We're having a good time. I'm an adult. I know what I'm doing."
Yeah.
And so I'm fishing in my little sit-in, and the wind starts really getting up, and I'm like, "This is not great." I'm getting kind of blown around, and there's water coming over the front of my kayak, and I'm like, "Oh, this is real bad."
The wind's getting big then.
I'm just trying to paint a picture. You're probably facing northwest at this point, right? Just guessing where you're at. Mm-hmm. So your boat's probably facing northwest, and you couldn't see the horizon, and over that bluff there was one of these good Central Texas storms coming in from nowhere.
Right. And so the wind it feels like in an instant, the wind picks up and is blowing 30 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
The sky gets dark.
Oh, man.
And I'm just like, oh no.
And did you see any boats like hauling ass or anything like
there
that?
was
See,
nobody on the lake.
That's usually
Nobody
the
but
day.
you.
Nobody but me and my
kayaks.
buddy. And I couldn't see my buddy. I had no idea where
Usually
he was.
that's when I'm out on a kayak and I see the boats going, I'm like, hey, I need to start working my way back.
I was only 3 years in at this point. I was still pretty stupid to this. And it wasn't like we had a bunch of weather apps on our phone with alerts and any of that crap. This was still early.
Yeah.
And so the wind is getting up and I'm starting to take on water. And I was like, I have got to get back to the bank. And the harder I paddle, the more water is coming into my kayak. And I'm like saying a lot of words. A lot of Joe Pesci words.
Sure.
And so I'm paddling, and this kayak is just getting deeper and deeper and more sluggish and more sluggish. And a wave hits it, and boom, I'm out.
Oh, no.
And so I grab onto the kayak. With a sitting kayak, when it flips over, it creates an air bubble. All the water goes out, and it creates an air bubble. So it will still float for a while, as long as you can maintain a water seal around where you sit in. So I've got trapped air, so I grab it, and I cannot touch at all.
Oh, man.
So I slide over. I've got my life jacket on. That's lesson number 2.
That's right.
Always wear that life jacket. I slide around to the front of it, and it's got one of those T-handles on the front of it.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to hold on to this with this hand. I'm going to try to swim with this other hand, and hopefully the wind will eventually push me to a bank. And I'm freaking out. Luckily, the water's not cold. That was really what was saving me at that point. Because if the water had been cold and
that's bad,
hypothermia would have hit,
right.
I would have been dead.
Yeah.
And that's happened on Belton Lake.
A lot.
We lose kayakers like that because they're submerged in that cold water and they do not have a rescue plan. So I'm grabbing on that T-handle. I'm going, and I can see, a corner of this bluff wall. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be able to make it here, and the kayak has not sunk yet. I'm being kind of stupid because I'm not thinking about physics. So I get to where I can touch. I'm like, cool, I'm going to flip the kayak back over. Well, it's got so many gallons of water in it, I can't flip it back over. And so I have to drag it up on the beach. I break the T-handle. And so now I'm grabbing raw plastic and dragging it up because I'm not losing. This is my 3-year-old got me off the bank bass boat.
It's
you
your
just
prized
lost
possession.
It is everything.
You just lost a lot of gear, too.
Yeah, and I don't care about the gear. I just can't lose this.
Yes.
And so plus I'm so far away from where we parked.
Oh,
I can't swim back.
Yeah.
And I'm on a piece of property that there's no road to.
Yeah.
I'm in a bad spot. So this kayak has got to get me over. Luckily, my paddle floats. Right?
Yeah.
You always want to paddle that float. They used to make them where they didn't float. Now pretty much everything floats.
What sense did that make?
Who knew? They didn't expect people to be falling out. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
And so we're like, I'm by myself. I get this up to the bank. I get my kayak like up on the bank, and I use everything I can to flip it over and get pretty much all the water out of it. It's still got some slosh around in it, but I don't care because now I can at least flip it back over and paddle it.
Right.
I picked up my paddle off the bank, and I hear thunder, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh, man.
This is real bad because I'm exposed. I'm on a bank full of rock. I'm the only fleshy lightning rod around.
Yeah, that's right.
What time of day is this?
Probably 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. So you got a matter of a couple of hours before sun starts setting.
Yeah, I'm screwed. Is how I see it. But I hear that thunder and I'm like, okay, I've got to take shelter. So there is a rock outcropping that has a little bit of to where I think I can tuck underneath it and be protected from lightning. And I'm like, okay, I need to pull the kayak up. I'm going to flip it over again upside down so it doesn't catch any water because it's about to start raining.
Right.
I hide under that outcropping, and it is the biggest rainstorm that I had ever been stuck in.
And at this point, you still haven't seen or heard from your buddy that's out there with you. No clue where he's at.
No clue.
Oh, man.
No clue. He doesn't know I swamped. He doesn't know any of this is going on. I hear the thunder, and I was like, okay, I just have to survive this for right now, and then I will go look for him. And so I crawl under that outcropping, or crawl under the outcropping. More thunder. Start seeing a lot of lightning in the sky, and I'm like, this is just real bad. And then I see a bright flash and hear an explosion.
Oh, man.
And a tree that was probably 10 feet behind the outcropping got struck by lightning, and it drops, and it lands a foot from my feet.
Wow.
So my ears are ringing like gunshots just went off. Mm-hmm. My eyes are dilated from the lightning flash, and I'm just like, if I weren't already wet, I probably would have pissed myself.
Yeah. Understandably.
Because I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die under this rock, and nobody's going to find my body.
Yeah.
Because this is Fort Hood land.
Yeah.
There's no roads where I'm sitting. At least I think it's Fort Hood land. I don't know if it is or not.
It comes off that big peninsula there. Right. It is.
And I'm just like, I'm screwed. I'm done.
Man, that's scary.
Like this is it. And so I stay under there about 10 minutes, and the storm passes. It's one of those fast-moving summer storms that come through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I made it through that. I look out to the north and to the west, clear skies, sun's starting to come back out. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to act like nothing just happened. Okay. I get my kayak, put it back in the water, get my paddle, I get back into it, and I start paddling around the corner, because now I don't know what's going on with my buddy.
Yeah, that's
scary. I don't know if he's okay. I turn the corner. This jackass is in his kayak fishing, whistling like nothing happened. And I'm like, bro. Like, what? He's like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I just pretty much died.
Yeah.
Except I didn't die. And he's like, from what? I was like, dude, that wind kicked up and I swamped. And he's like, oh. Well, I was fishing the West Bank. The wind didn't bother me.
Oh, man.
He was fishing in like 3 foot of water on the West Bank. The wind didn't touch him. And he was fine. And I was like, well, what did you do when that rain came? And he's like, nothing. I just fished through it. I was like, dude, there was lightning.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not afraid of any lightning. I was like, bro, you're a little crazy. And he's like, no, like, there's all these trees around. Like, it's going to hit the trees. It's not going to hit me. I was like, you have a level of confidence I will never have.
And especially after that day.
Right. And he's like, no, we're good. He's like, you about ready to paddle back? I was like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm done for the day.
I think I'm good.
That's where I'll hang on to you. You paddle.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
I'm just going to sit back here and chill.
Like, this was, I think, probably before The Hangover came out. Mm-hmm. But, like, if he could have turned to me, he would have been like, but did you die? I don't understand what your problem is.
So that's a great story, man.
That is a good one.
These are the kind of things that we can learn from. These are the kind of things that, again, you said it in the last podcast, I'd rather learn 1,000 things what not to do before I claim to know 100 things of this is what you got to do. So, I mean, do you have a now that you've been doing it much longer, now that you're much more experienced, do you have a recommendation to a new kayak angler? Like, hey, before you launch, check in with a buddy. Let them know where you're going to go. Mm-hmm. Let them know where you're going to be launching from, recovering. Yeah. Think about, if you're on a lake or a river, if you're going upstream, down, all those rise and falls and all that stuff. Like, those are the things that a new kayak angler might not know.
Yeah, I think you gotta let somebody know where you're going to be and when they're going to be there. It's always best to have somebody with you, but if you can't have somebody with you, you got to report in. Now with all the phones that we have, activate Find My Phone, Life 360, whatever it is.
Talked about that one.
So that your loved ones can always figure out where you're at, and then if they can always ping you. If they can't get in contact with you or cell service with you or whatever,
send an emergency crew if they have to, whatever.
I would not recommend fishing by yourself after dark ever.
Yeah. Good point.
It's just there are too many people that die after dark because powerboats can't see you. Airboats, if you're on the river, can't see you. Like if you're fishing the Brazos and you think you're free and clear, no. There's plenty of airboats on the Brazos. And sometimes they're running at night. And so like you just...
And they're dang sure not going to hear you if you're yelling.
Right. And I mean, how do you feel about the 360 lights on a kayak versus
have to have them, state law.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about like the effectiveness of some of the I hate to go bashing certain products, but there are some products out there that are the bare minimum. Yeah. And people don't get it.
So, yeah, you can go buy I'll name drop, like the $29 Magellan.
Yeah.
You always got to keep batteries in that thing. They're not powered by anything else. So, obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I work with Yak Power. But we have...
But for a good reason.
Yeah. We have a 360 lightning rod. And, it connects to... your big battery. Yeah. You're not reliant on, you've got an on-off switch for it.
Right.
You've got the capability to turn it on and off. It's never out of battery as long as everything else has batteries.
Right.
And if you're fishing with a graph, you've got a voltmeter option that you can put on there and you can see what you're pulling and what you've got. So I like a powered one. And there are some that are brighter than others.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a spaceship at night. If I'm on the water, like I run LED strip. I run the Yak Power lights on the sides of the boat, internal cockpit, 360 light. If I were running a motor, I'd be running my nav lights.
And that's for your safety and the safety of others as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and here's the deal, right? Like I want to be safe.
Yeah.
But also, I don't want to have somebody have to live with a potential manslaughter charge.
Yeah.
Because I was dumb on the water.
That's a great point.
And then the guilt of having killed somebody they couldn't see.
Sure. Because I mean, whose fault is that?
Right.
I mean, really,
mine.
Exactly.
If I'm out there like a dummy with no lights floating around, you're like, well, they should watch out.
Or I have a headlamp.
Bro, no.
I hear it all. Mm-hmm. Oh, I had a headlamp on. Yeah, that is not visible. Yeah,
your headlamp looks like the same thing that a dock light from 500 yards away looks like.
Yeah.
They don't know your proximity because you lose depth perception at night.
Yeah.
I had an instance with a kayak fisherman at night down towards the Long Bridge. Me and my son was fishing near there and had no clue that anybody was out there. Cast it out.
Yeah.
We were catfishing, so long cast. And heard a voice come back like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Some Joe Pesci words came back at us. Yeah, I was like, "What is that? What is going on?"
Right.
And it was a gentleman out there in a kayak, no light, had no clue, couldn't see him.
Yeah,
no clue.
So you have no argument in the eye of the law if you don't have a 360 light that can be seen from 2 nautical miles away.
That's right.
It can be seen from all angles. It can't be a headlamp. It you've got no room to stand.
Yeah.
And so, that dude was out of line. And, I wouldn't fault somebody for calling TPWD because a call like that, a lot of people would be like, man, why you got to narc on people? Some people are just trying to get by. Yeah, but if you call that ticket, could make sure that he doesn't die doing something stupid, potentially. I realize we can't legislate everything in the world, right?
Right.
But safety is,
and
it's number one. It is.
It has to.
It is.
And you never know what that encounter with that game warden is going to have with that angler either. They could use it as a teaching moment too, and educate. But a ticket, a fine, is way cheaper than losing your life, or way less of a impact on your life than.
And if you have loved ones,
that's right.
they're left with this empty void because you were like, I don't have to do a 360. I'm just going 50 yards off the bank.
Or I don't have to wear my PFD.
Or my seatbelt.
I tell you what, that light or ticket is still cheaper than a 10-aught circle hook that I'm throwing too. It's going to be cheaper than that ER visit you're going to have. You know,
for sure.
Or that 4-ounce weight hitting you upside the head.
Yeah,
it's not going to feel good,
man. So that's a good lesson. So I think we could chop it up to, one, check in with somebody, right?
Yep.
And then 2, check the weather, man.
Yeah.
There's so many resources now. Like you said, back then it was a little harder and your experience. But, for one, if you're a new kayak angler or you're new to kayak angling, man, I highly recommend you join a forum, join a Facebook group. Man, you can go to Payne Outdoors and email Chris and ask him some questions.
Yeah, I'm not shy about my email, and my contact information is on just about everything. Hell, even my email's even on my TikTok.
There you go.
Because I would rather people ask and learn from my mistakes than potentially do something that costs them their life.
One other thing I kind of picked up on, you said you didn't have a graph when you were out that day, so you didn't understand you were in 40 foot of water. So that's another resource that we have now is our phones, smartphones. You don't have to have a graph. You can have apps like Navionics and others that are and it gives you a good reference point. It may not be it's probably plus or minus 2 to 5 feet, somewhere in that range, but it gives you a great idea of the water depth that you're actually in.
Well, and let's go hillbilly engineering with it too. So before apps and graphs and all that stuff, and let's say you've got somebody who doesn't, I will not take my phone on the water type
marker
person.
ropes and
marker ropes.
Yeah, marker ropes.
Marker rope, put a rock on the
That's
bottom.
what I grew up with, marker ropes.
Just be done with it, right? You can buy 100 feet of nylon rope, tie an old window sash, anchor to it, or a rock or anything.
A brake rotor is what we use.
Yeah. And just drop it down and measure it so right? And just you gotta be smart out there, because just one little fun quick adventure without attention to safety can be your last.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's what we want to avoid, man. We want to encourage you to basically if you're thinking about getting into kayak angling and you're you don't know what you're doing, man, ask. Find someone who you can ask. Find someone you can fish with. Find someone who can take you out. If you're looking to, dive into that, I would highly recommend, before you do it, man, get on one of them groups, man. Start asking the questions. I will tell you that from my experience, you would be surprised as to how much people are willing to actually teach you and share that information. So that's what this episode was about, man. It was a lesson, and I love sharing stories. It's fun talking about, but did you die? Right. Because I mean, looking back on it, it's quite comical thinking about how much you went through to who knows how many people have had the story where I went through all that just to have a good day of fishing.
Yeah,
but that good day of fishing turned real dark real quick.
And they happen too often.
They do. The results are real. You know what I mean? So, that was a cool story, man. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. And but did you die segment is just kind of our way of having fun with it. Yep. But it's actually a good way of sharing experiences that you guys can learn from, and hopefully you can avoid. And never make that mistake yourself. So take that and put that in your memory bank. Take some notes. And if you guys have any questions or comments, man, drop them in the bottom of this video, and we'll reply to you guys. And you guys, we want to thank Chris for coming on this podcast with us. Thank you for the sessions that you dropped some knowledge to the guys and gals that were maybe potentially trying to get into kayak angling.
I personally learned a lot sitting here during this. I don't know a lot about kayak fishing, but I feel like I learned a lot more than I did know already.
Well, Chris, you're a world of knowledge. So you guys, why don't you tell everybody how they can find you and what they can expect from, your social media and stuff like that.
Sure. So I'm at Payne Outdoors, pretty Payne. outdoors, pretty much everywhere.
Okay.
So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that kind of stuff. So my TikTok stuff, you're going to learn about bait making. So we make soft plastic baits in all kinds of different colors, show you some cool new baits that we've got. When we get a new mold, we shoot that. We do some lives and stuff like that where we do some giveaways. And so if you like bass fishing and you like soft plastics,
check them out.
That would be that. Instagram is some of that bleed over, and then it's also some nature pics and fishing pictures and just kind of
that's what we love to see.
Keeping up with my adventures when I get to take them. Facebook is a lot of article shares. So a lot of cool things that, hey, we saw this article, or hey, there's this get together in Ohio, or there's a get together in Dallas, or there's a get together wherever that is. And demo days and different things like that. And then our website, payneoutdoors.com, has all of our reviews that we've done over the last 10 and a half, almost 11 years. So you can find really old stuff. You can find some newer stuff. We also have a bunch of press releases on new stuff from companies like Yeti, Costa, Daiwa, Shimano, like a lot of just kind of industry news that's out there. And then you've got some opinion articles that are out there, editorial style, that talk about, okay, so, what's better? Paddle, pedal, motor, like how do they all compare? And some different opinion articles like that. And then podcast wise, we'll pop up pretty much anywhere that, wants to talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
So we do some stuff with Paddle and Finn on a couple of their different shows. And we've done the Jackson Kayak podcast. And, I'm in and around Central Texas.
Yeah.
And so if, you want to get together and have a cup of coffee, or I do like food at the taqueria. So, if we need to crush some chips and salsa.
Don't we all?
Then, man.
Some campechanos or something like that. Like
maybe that's what we need to do next.
Yeah, maybe our next one will be
live spot from taqueria number whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us on this podcast, Chris. You're a world of knowledge, man, and that was cool having you here with us. You guys go check out Payne Outdoors. You can check out his reviews, man. I guarantee you this: you're gonna learn something from every one of those. They're very well put together. We had a blast having you on, man. So thank you for joining us.
Learned a lot, yeah.
Guys, if you like this podcast, stay tuned for our next one. We're going to be dropping a podcast every week. So we're ramping up, guys. Cast&Blast Outfitters is trying to, tap into a bunch of different topics, whether it's hunting and fishing. We're just living the Cast&Blast lifestyle. So if you like that kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you comment on our videos if you have some input, if you have some comments, if you have some questions, and we'll make sure we respond to you guys. So appreciate you guys following this far. I hope you're enjoying these podcasts as much as we're having fun filming them. So Pinche Ben signing out. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.